You're right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Zoom. Actually, welcome to our lunchtime meeting with Liam and the entities. So, I asked Liam if he would do this for us because I'm really excited about him coming to Auckland this weekend. We in New Zealand don't get the chance to do so many Talk to the Entities classes, and so when he said he was coming to Auckland, I was like, yes, I want to be there. Sure, I'll do whatever I can to help. And then I asked him if he would do a little Q&A with us today at lunchtime because I feel like we have so many questions still about what this topic is even about, as self-explanatory as the title may be, and what the intro night's going to be about and what the two-day class encompasses, and just how scary is it, Leah? That's what we want to know.
Oh, yes, it's really scary.
Should we be scared?
What will you be scared? Well, that's one of the great things about the Access Consciousness tools and how they've been incorporated into Talk to the Entities. And that's one of the things that we may well look at is this idea, this Hollywood idea, and what we've been brought up in about how scary entities can be. I remember when I was 18, I watched that movie. Oh, what was that one? Where her head spins round and she vomits everywhere. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called now.
It's such a famous movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've played it so much, it's not my reality. But I had a little black and white TV and I watched it on that, and I couldn't get to sleep that night because it was so scary, this being possessed by a demon. Now, since then, things have changed dynamically for me. And I remember the first time that I went to a Talk to the Entities class with Shannon O'Hara back in, I don't know, about 2008 or so. I couldn't go because I was just so scared. And there was just all this pressure and energy and like anxiousness around me. And it was like, I didn't really know what was going on. And then 2 weeks later, she had another class. And I've got to go. And I was so pleased that I did because within 10 minutes of being in the class, I realized it was actually, my hair looks terrible. Within 10 minutes of the class, I realized it was all the entities that didn't want to be cleared, all the demons that didn't want to go because they were having too much fun with my body. And I had a disease at that time, and and the demons were contributing to that. And of course, they didn't want to let go of my body. And within 10 minutes of the class, I realized, oh my God, it wasn't me that didn't want to go to the class. It was all the demons and entities. So if you're having stuff like that come up, then you want to ask, is this mine or is this an entity telling me not to go to the class? Is that fear mine, or is that fear an entity that is trying to stop me from creating what I'd like to have?
That's an awesome question. And also, and that's exactly the energy I wanted you to speak to, because I had exactly the same thing. Like, I had that same resistance around these classes, and even reading Shannon's book that she wrote. I was like, I do not want to open. It's almost like this great intrigue around what is this information, and at the same time wanting to push it away and not wanting to come. It's almost like a fear of what we're going to find out. And so the question is, is that ours or is that yours if you've got that going on, or is that actually somebody else's, or your resistance to around just how easy and unscary this topic could be? Because the other thing, tell us what else you're going to talk to us about. Tell us what the intro night's going to cover. Tell us what the two-day class covers.
Mm-hmm. Just before I do that, though, just to acknowledge that, is you were talking about how fun and easy it can be, and often we misidentify that fear, the energy of excitement and fun and ease as fear. I know when I was a kid, I wanted to go to the fair and go on the bumper cars, and I was always short as a kid, so I had to wait for years before I reached the level that I could go on, and I'd save my money to go on to the bumper cars, I was holding my mum's hand, and I was so frigging excited. You know, like I was like a jumping bean, and my mum said, "There's no need to be nervous." And from that point on, every time that energy has ever come up in my reality, it's like, I think that I'm nervous when I'm actually excited. I was talking to Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, about that recently, and he said he has never, since he's recognized that, every time that fear has come up, every time that nervousness or anxiousness has come up, it's always been excitement. It's never been fear.
Yeah.
So anywhere where you're buying the fear as real and you've misidentified it as misidentified the excitement as fear, would you be willing to give that up and destroy and uncreate it all? Come back, right, run, pop, popcorn, on short boys and meals. And that's
a raincoat.
Never.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Go to www.feelingstatement.com.
Do you have a light one?
No.
So,
Rebecca Scott, hello.
Room, who cares?
Can you mute her?
I've done it. Yeah. Okay, I'm a mutant. I just muted you.
If we don't like what you're saying, we're going to mute you, no?
So your question was what is the intro and what is the 2-day class? I'm gonna do it back to front because the intro the 2-day class is so frigging amazing. I resisted teaching the 2-day class or facilitating the 2-day class for years and years and years and years. And I did my first 2-day class in Japan last year around June. And oh my God, the amount of change that can occur in a 2-day class is frigging amazing. And it's not just about talking to entities. It's about clearing all those places that stop you from being you, that allow you to receive everything. In the past, it used to be called A Whole New World, and now it's called the 2-day beginner talk to the entities class. I really liked it as being called the Whole New World because that seems to what opens up to so many different worlds, realities, dimensions, and the world of entities is so huge, and if you can receive from it without having a point of view, it can be so much ease and fun. So that's basically the 2 days. And what is really cool about the 2 days is, like all of the access classes, we've got a great manual, and that is there designed to facilitate us and get through everything that needs to get through. But it's also what you bring to the class. Everything that you bring to the class is so vital to creating that class. So it's not about me. It's not about the entities. It's about you.
I feel like people are almost scared that they're going to come to these classes and suddenly be able to see ghosts or entities everywhere. And that's one of the things that they're resistant about. It's like, do we suddenly start seeing them and talking to them everywhere we go? Is that what this is about?
Well, that is a possibility. Everything is possibility. Everything is possible. I don't know what you will get personally out of it. Depends on what you are choosing. So like with the class in Japan that I did, that first one, I actually had a lady that came along, and she was the 1300th generation of Ghostbusters. And that for 1300 generations. So that'd be before time started, basically. Every single person that would that was the family business for 13 generations. Maybe it was 13. Well, anyway, it was a long time, And what she got out of the class was and she could see entities, but she hadn't recognized that entities could talk to her in so many different ways. Yeah. And in the class, she had a flute, pretty much like I have got at the moment. And I asked her, so is that actually an entity trying to connect with you? And you should have seen her eyes almost crossed over as she said yes. And within half an hour, all her flu symptoms had completely evaporated. And it was like, and this is a woman that family business, and she
Yeah.
gets paid a lot of money. She's very well known in Japan.
Yeah.
And she didn't even realize that entities could talk to you in so many different ways. And so it's really up to you what you're willing to receive, what you would like to do with the 2-day class. And you may well come out seeing entities, perceiving them in a different way, being able to receive them, being able to clear them, being able to communicate with them with so much ease. And yeah, oh wow, just so much. Does that answer the question in a roundabout way?
Yeah, because I think you've just covered that. What I was, I think for people as well to realize just how many different ways of communicating with them there are, and it doesn't, coming to the 2-day class, you might walk away being able to have a conversation with an entity, but also there's so many different ways that they try and communicate with us and that we can communicate with them, and what all of those different variances of perception and perceiving and receiving entities is. I think that's we kind of think it's this, or it looks like this, when actually what's available is that. And I'm sure that's what the 2-day class is going to give all of the participants, is this opening up of the whole new world that is available with it.
Yeah. With the 2-day class, there is a prerequisite that you have to have done the bars class, and I was really happy that Shannon made that as a prerequisite, because in the class that I had, everybody had done a foundation, and one person had only done bars, and the difference was amazing in the amount of receiving that you can have. So I'm really glad that Shannon brought in that you have to have a bars class, because I can imagine if you walk off the street without having a bars class, which is about being able to receive, then a 2-day class would be really intense. And that's why we have the beginners, the intro class. For those that haven't done a bars class but would like to know more and would like to have some tools to be able to get over the point of view that ghosts are something to fear, and also it's a question class where we'll be going through specific things, but it's a question class so you can bring your own personal questions. And some people don't want to talk to the entities and learn how to do that. Some people want to come to this class and actually be able to connect with someone like me or someone in the class that has an awareness of their dead grandmother or whatever it is, so that they can finalize things and put things to rest. Everybody's got a different reason for why they want to come. What I've found with the intro class is that many people really have a fascination with entities, and we have not been given the correct information. A lot of the information that we've been given is either steeped in religious mumbo jumbo that is designed to keep us fearful and afraid, and so we can never choose for ourselves, or it's steeped in Hollywood. And I use the Hollywood in story, which has an element of truths to them. They're also combined with so many lies. And when we buy a truth with a lie attached, we also buy the lie, and that does not help us one bit soever. So we'll be looking at clearing some of those lies that are around entities and giving you the correct information. This is not something you do the class, done, finished. It's something that keeps on opening doorways for you. And I've known Shannon for 10, 11 years. She's been a personal friend of mine for that time. And it's only been in the last 12 months that I've really stepping into that capacity and the power and the potency that I have with entities. And every time I make that step, it's like it opens up another whole new world for me. And I just love it. I just love it. It just gives me so much more awareness.
That's so cool. So a question just coming up for me, well, two, but one of them is like, so what types of things can we receive from entities? Because I've heard you can receive money from entities.
Yeah. Well, I heard a story about Shannon, how she found a ring and a ruby ring, and like she did that maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and then whilst I was in Japan last year, I was just having a conversation with entities, and it's not necessarily that I'm talking physically with them; it's an energetic thing that happens. And I said, well, can you show me the money now, please? And I was at the train station, and I looked down, and there was an opal ring, a gold opal ring. And I went, wow, this is just amazing. And this is one of the ways that entities can contribute to us. They will either pull on you to see the opal ring, or they'll pull people or things into your reality that just seem to be totally magic, which is frigging awesome. So, but the thing is, in order for that to show up, you have to be willing to receive that from them. So if you've got a barrier against somebody that wears tattoos, for instance, which is very in your face here in New Zealand, well, let's say a bikie that's covered in tattoos, and you've got, oh my God, bikie, go away. It could be bad. They might hurt me. But that man might be the most beautiful, kind, caring person on the planet, and totally willing to give to you if you don't have a barrier up to them. And it's the same with entities. There are so many entities. They're just like people without bodies. There's so many entities that are kind and caring and want to give to you, and yet we have these points of view that, I can't receive from a man, or I can't receive from a woman, I can't receive from people that wear red scarves, and crazy stuff like that. And so in the intro, we would definitely be looking at clearing some of those points of view so that you can receive from entities and even receive from people in so much more dynamic way.
And will you also cover how to clear entities for those of us that don't know how to?
Yeah, that's more for the 2-day class, but it certainly will show up in the introduction class too. There are many ways to clear entities. When I first started on my spiritual path, quote unquote, jumping into consciousness, there was a lot of stuff about using sage sticks and all of that, and it all works to a certain degree. But what if there were other ways, easier ways that you could clear things within total seconds? And if you're allergic to sage smoke, then we can help you out. You don't have to use it. That's one of the reasons why. Sorry.
That's who we should have been marketing this class to, people who are allergic to sage.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Or allergic to bells, yeah.
Yeah. Or feel like they need to bring in, religious leaders, or have a 2-day ceremony, or whitewash the house, or all of those kinds of myths. Or, and I get what you mean. Like there's truth to them, and they all work because those ideas have come from somewhere, but really demystifying and really cutting to the chase around what stuff is actually relevant and true, and how much of it has kind of just been exaggerated. And now we have these crazy rituals that people think are required to communicate or to receive from entities.
Yeah. The funny thing is, those rituals, if you've made the ritual greater than you, this is the problem with the ritual. The rituals are brilliant, awesome, amazing, and if that's part of your reality, fantastic. But if you don't have a sage stick and you've got an entity bothering you, what are you going to do? Well, here's some tools to help you when you've run out of sage. Yeah.
That is so cool. I love that. I'm going to use that.
And like the really, really cool thing is like, I love Japan. I spend a lot of time in Japan, and there, when somebody commits suicide in a house for 5 or 6 years or whatever, the rental on that property has to be reduced by something like 70%, because often the entity hangs around. And in the Japanese culture, they recognize this. They acknowledge that. Now, I have a friend who's actually blind, and she managed to get one of these apartments. And when somebody commits suicide in an apartment in Japan, they send in people with all the gongs and the bongs and and do this ritual. Now, this woman is blind, and she managed to get one of these apartments, and she didn't have a point of view about it because she has all these tools from talk to the entities. And when she walked into the apartment, she realized that all the gongs and the bongs and the dongs didn't work, because the entity was still there. So she used these tools, and the entity went within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so she's got this beautiful, amazing apartment with no suicide entity left there at 70% of the rate of what it was. Yeah. Now, this is one of the ways that we can receive money, weirdly enough, when we're willing to use these tools and receive entities in a totally different way. And so that particular story shows us that often the rituals don't actually work, because some of the suicide entities are actually requiring something else other than just being cleared.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I have so many more questions, but I'm actually going to save them for the class.
Awesome.
Which is a great reason why you should come to either the intro night or the 2-day class. Do any of our other participants here have a question which they can type in, or they can unmute themselves and ask the question? And is there anything else that you wanted to cover, Liam?
Well, Helen, who's coming to the class, she was beautiful last night and sent this out to a few people. And she said something about plant entities, and this is more stuff to do with the 2-day class, but we look at so many different types of entities too, and how to deal with them. And it was interesting because Helen was talking about entities that live in plants, and I had never really considered that as a possibility. So that opened stuff up for me. And after that, I was talking to a friend in London who was talking about this particular plant-based thing that has been created that people are starting to drink lately. And I said, so what does it do for you? And she said, it gives me much more connection with the earth. And I suddenly recognized that when Helen was talking about these plant entities, that somehow that was, for me, that was another piece of the information and awareness. And I started to recognize that, okay, cool, the plant-based entities are part of the planet. And that's something that I really have a huge capacity in, is talking with elementals. So those are like fairies and goblins and trolls. That have a great affinity with trolls for some reason. Elves, all these sorts of things. And we do look at that in the 2-day class. And there are some really weird and wacky entities too, like frozen entities, white light entities, dark light entities. And I don't have answers to all of these things. I have specific awarenesses, like with death entities. You want to know about death entities?
You're the man.
Demons.
Yeah.
And Sorry?
All the fun light ones.
Oh, the fun light ones, yeah. And, you know, like if you're willing to receive from them, it can be a totally different reality that you can create. Yeah, so that's what I love about the 2-day class too, and that's why I talked about this lady that who was a professional in Japan, because it doesn't matter how much you do know or how much you don't know, you know something about entities. And when you bring that knowledge to the class, not knowledge, if you bring that knowing to the class, you get to be more cognitive of it, you get to be more aware of it, and you also bring that information to other people. That's why I was talking about the plant-based entities. And, you know, like I've got more information now, which I will be bringing into the class. So it's always an ever-expanding creation. It's not like this is it, this is entities. It's like, here's some stuff about entities, and what do you know, and what can we add to that as a group?
That is so cool. That is so cool. And just as we're wrapping up, like I just thought, you know, it's such a contribution, not just to the people, but when you come into a class like this and then you go back to wherever you're going back to or anywhere you visit, you know, the contribution you can then be to that space or to that land or to the people or the entities, wherever you go after you've been to that class, you have that knowing, and therefore what you can contribute to that space, whether it's your own home. I know I'm really looking forward to the contribution these classes are going to be to my business, because we're having, we're having the class in my clinic, which I'm really excited about. My clinic sits on Maori land, like all of these things. Like
that's what. You didn't tell me that. God, now I know why we had to have it there.
It's, you know, like there's so many things, and like in New Zealand we have so much connection, or our land has so much connection with entities, and the people of the land have a connection with the land and the entities. So, you know, if you're from New Zealand, if you're in New Zealand, these classes are super relevant, whether or not you think so. But also, you know, when we go travel there, and I know, like, you know, even in Malaysia, like you go to these other countries and each country has its own flavor or kind, or, you know, some countries have heaps of entities, or you'll go stay in a hotel, no matter where it is, and you'll go, oh, something's going on here. Do I need to clear an entity? Yes. And coming along to one of these classes gives you that ability to not be kind of shaken up or scared in that situation, just to know that you just need to do what you need to do, and you're a contribution to that space, and maybe that's why you're there.
Well,
so
just before we finish up, because it's sort of like, now that I know that it's on Maori land, I'm not a Maori, but I have had lifetimes as a Maori, and one of the cool things is that I just love New Zealand, and I don't know why I keep coming back here. It feels like home. Japan is another place like that, but I have such a connection with the land here and the entities and the Maori culture, but I'm not in the culture, so I have a different point of view. I can see everything from outside it, and for me that's been such a gift, because I'm not stuck in a particular point of view, and that's something that comes up when you've gone through a particular culture. You tend to get stuck with that point of view, and then you can't see greater. And I'm echoing for some. Maybe some entities have jumped on. All the entities that are now like,
yeah, the class is starting. So class is starting on Friday, evening we have our intro. So that's going to be in Auckland Central at Vital Chiropractic, which is in Orake. And then we've got a 2-day class at the same venue, and that's going to be Saturday, Sunday. So if you haven't yet registered for the classes, it's super easy. We are going to put the links back up on all of the Access sites, but just send me, myself or Liam a message saying you'd like to register, and we'll send you all the links, and you can do that, and it will be awesome.
Cool.
Cool.
I'll upload this now.
Out to you. So you
Awesome.
disseminate it.
disseminate it.
Yay, thank you. And thank you to everyone that joined us. And what else is possible now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a great day. Have a great Wednesday with entities.
Thanks all the entities too. Bye-bye.
Bye.